Is there a story you can share about really what it was like to work under Brad Wright and Robert C. Cooper?
Well, there's no one.
Okay.
I can't really think of one specific story that sort of
exemplifies, yeah,
who those guys were for me. But I look, like I said, I think we were all very lucky. All four of us were lucky that we found each other, kind of thing. Because Brad and Robert, they weren't partners, right? So Joe and I were partners. It was different for us. We were already writing scripts together before we even showed up. Robert was just a writer that Brad and Jonathan brought into the show, and just turned out to be one of the best writers and the one who stayed the longest, basically, from the very beginning. And when Jonathan left, that opened the door for Robert to take more of a sort of co-showrunner role. And then eventually we also did that. And that was one of the great things about working with Brad and Robert, is it wasn't just the writing, it was also showrunner school for Joe and I. Because they brought us in, like Brad early on, he was like, come to the editing room with me. You're going to learn so much in the editing room. You'll realize how, because he said, you tell the story in the editing room. And I was like, you do? And then I watched him do it, and I was like, oh yeah, you do. Yeah, it's an incredibly important part of the process. It tends to not get a lot of, people don't talk about it that much because a lot of people don't really understand it. And the concept of writing is fairly simple. You come up with an idea, you write the script, but the editing room is hugely important. And then they also brought us into all the prep meetings, all the you know, the department head meetings with the department heads. I was going to the stunt meetings and the costume meetings and the location scouts and everything. And it's, like I said, it was showrunner school. It was like learning how to become a showrunner, and to the point where by the season 4 and 5 of Atlantis, we were the showrunners because they had taught us how to do it, and they were both very good at it. And so that was fantastic. Like, and a lot of that's just, again, just a matter of time. We were just there for so long. We had so many opportunities to learn things along the way because the show lasted. You know, you don't get to do that if the show goes 3 seasons and you're like a junior writer at the beginning. By the 3rd season, maybe you're doing some producing, but, you know, maybe not. And so we just, they were very good about that. They wanted us to, I think they maybe just, you know, it was taking a load off of them if we could do some of that ourselves. Like, if you guys can do the editing room, that's one less thing for me to do.
Correct.
So they taught us how to do that stuff. And so that in and of itself was amazing. The writing thing is a bit weird. It's a bit different, like I said, because they weren't partners, and they didn't, I don't think, and a lot of people who've never done it in the writing world don't understand writing partnerships. They're like, I remember Robert asking me, like, just how do you guys do it? Like, how do you, because for him and Brad, it's a very individual thing, right? You're sitting at your desk and you're staring at your computer and you're thinking up ideas and writing. Yes, we broke the stories as a group, but at a certain point, one person has to sit down. But in fact, when Joe and I started, we didn't do it that way. We were actually 2 people writing at the same time. He would be on the computer because he typed faster than I did. His handwriting was terrible, but his typing skills were better than mine. And at that point, we weren't writing anything down. And I would just pace. I mean, my office was pretty small. There wasn't a lot of room. We eventually got bigger offices, thank God. But yeah, he would be on it, and we'd be like, okay, scene 1, we're in the briefing room. Who's there? And he'd write, okay, interior briefing room, okay, O'Neill is there with blah, blah, blah. And okay, well, so Hammond walks in. What does he say? And we just say dialogue to each other, and he would type it down. Now, eventually we did stop doing that. I think we talked about this before, that when we just got so busy, it was faster for us to both just write at the same time on different episodes. So he'd be writing one episode, I'd be writing, and we could do that at the same time and get 2 episodes for what would normally take the time to do one. And so eventually we did sort of go back to a more traditional way of writing, but we were collaborating, you know, before we even came to Stargate. Brad and Robert had to find a way to work together, you know, that was different. So their path to that was a little bit different, and you'd have to ask them about exactly how that you know, that all came about. And I think, again, a lot of it was just luck. We just gelled. It was just chemistry that just happened. We were just personalities that worked well together. I remember, you know, Brad and Robert were also big golfers, and I was, and Joe was not. So Joe, unfortunately, was on the outside of the guy, and he made fun of us relentlessly every Monday because we would play on the weekends. He would ask us sarcastic questions about our golf game, because he hated it when we talked about golf. It's like I like pull back in his head. He'd be like, "Oh my god, we're really gonna spend an hour talking about golf." Oh, god.
As much as I would love people, I don't know if I could, work with them all week and then play with them on the weekends. I don't know if I could bring myself, even if I'm crazy about them. That's a lot of time. I'm not kidding. This is not. It was special. It was a special group of guys, and we had, so Brad and Robert and I played, and we had the fourth member of our team was Mark Davidson, who was a set decorator.
Set decorator. He was our fourth, and so we would play. That was our regular fourth. We played with Chris Judge played golf. We played with him a lot, and there were other people who played, but we were sort of that was our Sunday foursome. I know this isn't that interesting to people when I'm talking about golf, but it was a big part of my experience of working on Stargate and how I related to Brad and Rob, because we got along and we played golf together. I don't know, it's weird. And the golf thing, honestly, it was like the writer's room. What I mostly remember is just laughing. We would just make each other laugh on the golf course. Because golf is kind of a silly sport to begin with, and Brad and Robert took it pretty seriously. Brad's a very good golfer. I haven't played with Robert in a while. I don't know how his game is. Brad's is definitely better than mine, but for me, it was just good times. It was just fun. We just made each other laugh. Mark was hilarious, and Mark was he was a really good golfer, but he seemed to be really lucky. He was one of those guys, like his ball would go into the woods and it would just kick right back out in the middle of the fairway and be like, that's just Mark.
I got to know him on the auctions, just selling off the Stargate stuff, because he helped us organize that. He's a terrific human being. Yeah, no, he was, and he made a great counterpoint to the three of us, because we were all writers, and and he was not a writer, and anyway, whatever. So that was a big part of my relationship with Brad and Robert. But strictly from the show point of view, I think really what I don't know. Like I said, first of all, they were very generous, showing us how to become showrunners, how to become producers. And from a story standpoint, I do remember butting heads sometimes, mostly with Robert, because he's a very smart guy, and he gets, we just fought about ideas sometimes. We just had that, again, it's a sort of personality thing. It wasn't, we're still friends and we still played golf on the weekends, but in terms of story, I think I butted heads with him more than anybody else in terms of story. The worst were were time travel stories. Oh God.
Oh, we had some epic breaking sessions on time. If it was a time travel story, you could count on it taking at least twice, if not three times longer than break.
Because of the logic of it.
Yeah. And I was Mr. Logic. I was like, that doesn't make sense. And they'd be like, shut up, and nobody cares. And,
that's great. Thanks for watching this clip from Dial the Gate. You can find the full live stream shows on our YouTube channel, or visit dialthegate.com for the complete schedule. See you on the other side.